Hi, my name is Erica, and I am a neuro coach. I have a business called Set Apart Coaching, and I am going to talk to you today about mastering your mindset. So, I asked my community, my audience, through social media, what was the topic that you cared most about, that what you felt you would find the most value in? And so, this was a topic that many of you messaged me about. And I know that sometimes answering those questions can be hard because it's vulnerable, right? If you say, I need help with my mindset, then the world thinks, oh, she needs help with her mindset. And so a lot of you DM me instead of commenting um, on the post, and that's totally fine because at the end of the day, one of the things that is a goal of mine is to be able to normalize these types of discussions because here's the secret. Everyone struggles with their mindset. Everyone struggles with confidence and feeling successful. And I'm going to teach you some ways to be able to overcome that. And I want you to know too, biblically, we're called to. When Paul talks about in Romans 12:2 about renewing your mind, he's not just talking about waking up every day and, reading a Bible verse and letting that be the only thing that you do. There is a constant renewing that needs to take place because we are fighting against the spiritual realm to be able that's constantly looking to attack us. And the first place that they usually have success in that is your mind. So, I want to start by asking to you guys, have you ever felt stuck in your own head, knowing that you were made for more, called to more, but just feeling held back by fear, doubt, or overwhelm? You can feel free to comment here in the chat, or else if you're watching this on YouTube, just pop a comment below and let me know if that's something that you've ever struggled with. Um, I want to tell you about just a quick story about a time that I was struggling with things like that. And it was related to this business, actually. God had very clearly called me to do coaching, and it was new for me. Even though I had done something very similar in my previous career, it wasn't actually coaching, and it certainly was not neuro coaching. And so I was getting ready to start this business, and all of a sudden, I started to have all of this fear like, what if I'm not successful? What if nobody wants to work with me? What if I'm not smart enough? What if I'm not capable enough? Oh my gosh, it's going to take so much time, effort, energy. I don't even know how to do half of these things. What if I'm not made for this? What if I'm not good enough? And who am I to be telling people how to do life? Or who am I to be helping people or coaching people on how to do business? God, why did you call me to this? And those were not things I'd ever thought before. And I thought, why is my self-esteem all of a sudden so low? Why am I being so hard on myself? And I recognized the attack that was happening in my mind, and what it was related to was some internal beliefs that I was carrying. Mindset is huge if you're an entrepreneur. And majority of my clients own a business. Not all of them, but most of them do. And 80% of your success is psychology. The other 20% is strategy. And Tony Robbins says that. And not that that makes it final or truth, but it's very real. It feels factual and true because 80% is your mindset. And it's kind of like when you work out, they say what 80% is what you eat and 20% is the actual working out. And so I want to start off by just telling you guys your brain is not the enemy. It is simply wired to keep you safe. That is what its job is. So especially for us women, it is trained to be able to point out the things that could, perceive to be fear or failure to protect you. It's not trying to hold you back. It's trying to protect you. However, in protecting you, it will oftentimes hold you back. And so what we're going to do today is learn how to rewire it to work for you instead of against you. So how your brain will oftentimes keep you stuck is, I want to talk to you, I guess, for a moment about neuroplasticity and understanding that and thought patterns. So with your brain processing anywhere, they say the average is 60,000 thoughts a day. For some women, it could be 80,000 thoughts a day, or some people, I shouldn't say women, but I especially think women. We have a lot of thoughts. And so if your brain was to process 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, and 95% of them are subconscious and repetitive, then that in itself is proof that everything you think needs to be truth and clear and needs to be in sync with who you really are because it's operating on automations. And so your and just talk about subconscious and repetitive. Your brain puts things on automation in order to preserve glucose. So if you have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, and those thoughts use glucose, and glucose is energy, if you had to process all of those thoughts, you would be completely exhausted. And so what your brain does is it puts things on automation, puts things in your subconscious, puts things on repetition in order to save you energy and to do you a favor. It's why when you go to brush your teeth, you don't have to think about it. However, again, because it does that in certain circumstances or situations, it actually hurts you because it's blocking you from being able to move forward because it's trying to keep you where you've always been and stay in repetition. Your reticular activating system. So you'll hear me talk about this a lot, the RAS. That is your brain's filter. It's why you notice things that confirm your beliefs and you ignore evidence that contradicts them. So, and we can talk a little bit about negativity bias too, but real fast, let's just talk about the reticular activating system. So, perfect example would be, I'll give you a real life example. So I had a client who she's trying to grow her online business and she's starting to post reels, and this is new for her. And so she ended up with, I think, 450 followers. And then she does this reel. She spends like 35 minutes on this reel, and she was so proud of it and logs in the next day to find out that it only has 125 views. And now she only has 449 followers. So not only did her reel not get hardly any views, she lost a follower. And she already had been struggling with, I don't think I have it in me to be successful at doing reels or to marketing an online business. And now she sees these things and her brain's instantly like, yep, that's right. I told you. See, look, there's proof. Oops, sorry. Thought my phone was off. So that is an example. Instead of recognizing that she's learned how to do a reel, that she's growing and getting better at it every day. She tried a new technique, it didn't work. So guess what? She doesn't have to do that again. And that she's at 449 followers, whereas 2 months ago she said 0. So do you see that how your brain's like, you shouldn't go forward, you shouldn't continue on because it's not working, when it's not taking into consideration everything that is working. The other thing is, so before I move on, the negativity bias, our brain sees up to 9 times more negative than it does positive. So that's another thing that can help you, but also work against you in situations where you're trying to grow and heal. And then you have habit loops. And you'll hear me talk often about brain looping, or looping in your brain. Looping is when there is needed closure, or there's something that your brain is looking to find a reason behind, or close a loop. It's going to continue to replay the same thing on repeat until it's closed. And so a habit loop is how your thoughts equal your feelings, which ultimately equal your beliefs, which lead to your decisions and actions and results. And so the habits that you choose, the habits and the things that you choose to think ultimately give you your results. That's what it boils down to. And so I want to talk about how fear and self-doubt can take over when things like that happen. Fear feels very real in your brain because it's hijacking your amygdala. Like I told you before, your brain is wired to protect, not to grow. And so you have to teach it how to grow. You have to teach it how to be successful. And whenever you have negative thoughts, that cortisol, I mean, gosh, we could go into a whole thing about the power of cortisol, but negative thoughts increase stress, and then they shut down the problem-solving ability in your mind and your ability to be able to think creatively and to think of solutions when you're feeling stuck. That is why it is, going back to thoughts, it is why it is so important to be careful what you choose to allow into your brain. And if you catch something in your brain that you're thinking that you don't want to be thinking, and it is your responsibility in that moment to grab that thought, write it down, put it somewhere, and speak truth to the opposition of that lie. So for example, in her case, when she said, I knew I was never going to be able to do reels, or I'm never going to be able, that's a belief, I'm never going to be able to run a successful online business. in that moment, she needs to stop herself and say, hold on a minute. I am building a successful online business. Who defines my success? What does success mean? Why do I think that? Let me just speak truth. I am doing this. And in that moment, that thought doesn't have to get put on automation. And so I think what's really important is the reason that fear feels so real for you as you think about things in such detail is because your brain does not know reality from what's actually happening in the moment. Or I'm sorry, it doesn't know reality from fake. So if I have you go through an exercise where you close your eyes and I walk you through a situation where maybe you're walking into the kitchen and you go into your refrigerator and you grab a lemon or you grab a jalapeno pepper. And I ask you to just hold it and smell it and take it over to the counter and cut it open and take a big deep breath. What do you smell? And then I just tell you to take a huge bite out of it, right? Most of the time when I say these things, your mouth is going to start salivating. And the reason is because your brain right now in this moment does not know the difference between what you're telling it and what's actually happening. And that is why fear is so powerful. But what you tell your brain, so equals your thoughts, right? What you tell your brain by what you think will become your reality. And so that is why it is so important to speak truth and to stop allowing the lies that you are believing or the negative thoughts in. And I say negative thoughts, I guess I'll go down that in a second, but your brain cannot distinguish between a real or imagined threat. And so your thoughts are going to create your reality. And you just have to be aware of what you're choosing to think. Now, some of you may say to me, I'm just going to use an extreme example. I feel like a loser. And I actually believe that to be my truth. Doesn't feel like a lie, doesn't feel like a negative thought. It actually just feels factual. In that case, I'm going to challenge you back to say, but you know you're not. You know that you're not. You know that God created you on purpose for a purpose. And yes, you're in a low season. I'm not sure what the situation might be, but even then, there is truth to be spoken over you. And sometimes we have to love other people the way we speak love and truth over other people in the ways that we have a hard time doing it for ourselves. So in situations like that, where you're really struggling to feel positive about your own self, I would ask you to think about someone you love with your whole heart. And so if you have a child, just think about your child and think about the thoughts that you're thinking about yourself. And would you speak them to your child? And if the answer is absolutely not, which it would be, then why wouldn't you love you as much as you love them? Because it starts with you. And so again, that's something we could go down a whole rabbit trail on, but I'm going to keep it on subject here. But just, I want to encourage you to really think about what you're thinking about. And remember that your brain's not an enemy, even though sometimes it feels like it can be. It feels like you are a victim to your mind, but you're really choosing that, even though you don't realize it, because your thoughts are creating your reality. Your brain is going to play out in your life what you're choosing to think. It follows the path of least resistance. Your brain will always follow the path of least resistance. So if you want to change your life, you have to change your thought patterns first. And I say that again just to help you understand that it's going to go back to things that are on automation because that's the path of least resistance. But in speaking of pathways, in your mind, your brain has neural pathways. And so those neural pathways are created by repetition. And so what you choose to put on repeat is how pathways are created. And if you want them to go away and you want those pathways to dissolve, you have to stop repeating them. You have to stop traveling down those paths. Okay, before I move on, let me ask, first of all, does anyone have any questions? I'm going to just pause for just a moment, take a drink, and just see if anyone has any questions. And then I'm going to ask you guys a question. If anyone is willing, would you be willing to share in the chat what is a thought pattern that is not serving you, but you keep repeating? What is a thought pattern that you know is not serving you, but you keep repeating? Okay, perfect. Okay, so Miranda says a thought pattern that I know is not serving me, that I keep repeating is I'm never going to be able to get out of debt. Okay, perfect. So thank you for, first of all, your vulnerability and willingness to share that. And second of all, let's just break that down for a moment. So, you know, it's not serving you, obviously, because you've recognized it. And the fact that you recognize that that thought is not serving you is the first hardest step. The second thought or thing that I would like to talk to you about is, what do you do with that, right? Okay, I feel like I'm never going to get out of debt. Well, here is one thing that is for certain. If you tell yourself you are never going to get out of debt, you will never get out of debt. And that is true. That is 100% true. You will continue to repeat that pattern and that cycle of staying in debt and keeping yourself in debt. And so what I want to have you do is write that down on a piece of paper. I am never going to be debt free, or I will never get out of debt. However that thought shows up in your mind is how I want you to write it down. Then I want you to write down the thought that you do want to believe, the thought that you want to be true, the thought that you wish you did think. I am debt free, or I am taking steps to be completely debt free, or I walk in financial freedom. Because you actually, from a neurolinguistic standpoint, probably don't even want to use the word debt in your brain because it's going to pull out that negative connotation. So, or that negative word. So you want to be able to say, maybe I walk in mental free or financial freedom, or I am financially free, or I live in abundance. I have more than enough. I make more than enough money. Things like that. And you need to the thing that resonates most with how you talk with your brain. So I'm never going to get out of debt. The opposite of that might be, I live in complete abundance. I have mental freedom, or I keep saying mental, financial freedom. I want you to and focus on that. And here's why. If I'm going back to what I was talking to you about a moment ago, the reticular activating system, you have to tell your brain what you want it to focus on, right? It doesn't know reality from the truth. If you tell your brain that you're debt free and you continue to repeat that over and over and over, it's going to, not only because of the reticular activating system, look for ways to help you be debt free, you're going to start operating and making choices from a place of that being true. And you will watch that start to play out either in big ways or small ways that lead to big ways, but that breakthrough will come. But you have to consistently speak truth, right? Remember automations. Remember, it doesn't know what is really happening versus what you're telling it is happening. And so what you continue to say over and over and over, what you continue to believe over and over and over will play out. That will be your reality. So if you continue to say, I'm never going to be debt free, I'm not debt free, I'm broke, you continue to speak that language over yourself, you're going to stay that way. But if you want that to change, one of the first steps is changing your belief about that situation. Remembering, and this isn't a money mindset talk, but just remember that money is a tool. Money comes and it goes. It ebbs and flows like water. And so it is not a dictatorship. It is not meant to define you. It is a tool. Money is a tool. And so thank you again for sharing that. If you would like to go deeper in a money mindset coaching call or just have a discussion around that, I'm going to, at the end, give you guys my Instagram, Facebook. I'll also drop the link for setting up a one-to-one call that you can book with me so that we can go through that and just break down that thing. Or if you want to do a coaching, then of course you can do that too. Okay, so picking back up really quick, I want to talk to you about the 3-step mindset reset framework. So the first thing is kind of what I just talked to you about. So identify and interrupt those negative thought loops. A practical exercise that I have my clients do all the time, and I try to teach them to always be in self-awareness, is just to do a thought download. Write down all your reoccurring negative thoughts. Many of us will feel like there are a ton, but what's interesting is that there's actually usually only a handful or two on repeat, and they just come in different ways. Some of the language is switched around, but they're actually the same thought. But they need to get written down. They need to get out of your subconscious and on a piece of paper. It's one of the biggest gifts you can give yourself. So if you can do a thought download, and you may need to do multiple. I will often tell my clients to grab a little notebook. There's a little tiny notebook I have here. I'll show you guys. This little tiny notebook I use for mine. You can use whatever you want. Put the notes in your phone, whatever feels accessible to you, but get them out of your head. That thought download is really important. The second thing is to name it. Um, Label what it is, like that thought, how it makes you feel. How is that thought making you feel? And then I just want to remind you that, it talks about in 2 Corinthians 10:5 to take every thought captive and make it obedient to Christ. So going back to what I said to you, speak truth. God tells us that we are created on purpose, for a purpose, and that his plans are good and to prosper us and not harm us, and that he works all things together for good. And so we have to know that those are true words. And so find scripture that speaks to your heart and life that supports the opposition of the lies that you are believing, and take those thoughts captive. Then the second thing you're going to do is rewire your brain with intentionality, with those truth-based thoughts. So like I said, continue to speak that truth. That's going to create those new neural pathways by continuing to repeat that truth. And it can take anywhere from, usually takes about 67 days of constant repetition to be able to rewire your brain. So, for example, you could say, like, if someone carried a thought, a lot of women carry this thought, I'm not good enough. You could change that thought to say something like, I am equipped for my calling. Like I told you early on, I had fear that maybe I'm not good enough to do this. Maybe, God, why do you choose me to speak into the lives of other women? Who am I to do that? I don't have life figured out. I've gone through some hard times. I have certainly learned from them, both good, and I made good choices and bad choices, and both choices I learned from. And so, who am I, Lord? And I thought that exact thought, I am not good enough. But then I chose to speak the truth. I am equipped for my calling. God, you've called me to this, and I am equipped for that calling. And so that's what you want to do. You want to speak truth to those lies and those things that you're believing that are not that are negative and that are not truth. And using the words I am is very helpful. And then visualizing the thing. So I am equipped for my calling is great, but I want you to actually think about being equipped for your calling. What does that feel like? Being equipped for my calling feels like I am confident, like I'm courageous, like I can do hard things, like I allow myself to make choices for my business and for the kingdom instead of worrying about how those choices are going to play out. And that I'm courageous enough to step into hard situations and lead people with Christ to a different life. And so having those I am statements are helpful, but also visualizing what does that I am statement actually feel like. And then step 3 is to anchor in action and accountability. So action changes beliefs faster than belief changes action. Mel Robbins talks about this in her 5-second rule, and it's really worth mentioning. Action changes belief faster than belief changes action. You have to do something about it. And so that's the part of speaking the truth, and then doing things in that way to be able to change your neural pathways. So an action step that you can take right now is just think for a moment. I'm going to take another drink. I want you guys to write down one brave step, just one brave step that you're going to take this week towards a goal that you have. And if any of you are willing, tell me a goal that you have. Awesome. Okay, perfect. All right. So Samantha says that one brave step that one brave goal that she has this week is, or brave step towards her goal is to record a training for her niche. And so that's awesome. I know that can be nerve-wracking sometimes because you want to get it right and you don't have to re-record it over and over, right? And figuring out what's holding her back from that, right? I would ask you, Samantha, to figure out what is the thing that feels like it's requiring you to be brave to do that. What is it that's, okay, perfect. She said, I'm just afraid of what others might, how that might be perceived. Perfect. That's great. And how common is that, you guys? How many of us are afraid to put ourselves out there because we're afraid of what other people are going to think and say? And here's the reality. I don't know if any of you have read the Let Them theory by Mel Robbins, since we were just talking about her. Let them have their opinions. Let them think what they want. You are operating in what God has called you to do. Do it, sister. And don't worry about what other people think. You go boldly and take action, because you are making steps in the direction of your dreams, while someone else might be just sitting back thinking about it. You, every single day that you make a step in the direction of your dreams, you are changing things piece by piece, day by day, little by little. Thank you for sharing that. So what I would also tell you guys is accountability increases follow through by 95%. So find yourself an accountability partner. For many of my clients, for all my clients, I am their accountability partner. I hold them to their goals. I have the tough conversations. I call them lovingly, call them out in ways that they need to be called out. And so if you want an accountability partner, I definitely can be that for you as part of our coaching relationship. But if not, find someone to be able to hold you accountable to the things that you say is important to you, and to make sure that you're following through on the things that you need to do. Your brain, I think one of the things I want you to take away from this is your brain can be trained like a muscle. The more you practice faith-based, intentional thinking, the easier it's going to get. You'll notice how easily it flows through to you. So with that said, I want to just pause for a moment and ask, do any of you have any questions? Does anyone have anything they want to ask here? And again, if you're watching this on YouTube, please feel free to drop questions in the comments, and I would be more than happy to answer them for you. One of the things I've been thinking about doing is offering a just a live call where people hop on and get quick coaching through mindset reframing. And so if you guys would be interested in that, would you just drop in the comments and just say me, or I'm interested, or that's something I would love to do. That would be a separate training, or a separate webinar, but I would just do maybe like 5-minute hot seats where I help you through a mindset block. So let me know, again, if you're on YouTube, or if you're watching this, or if you're here with me now or watching the replay, if that's something you'd like to do, let me know. I'm going to leave you guys. I promised I would stick this to 30 minutes. I don't know if I said that in the beginning, but I did say that when I was marketing it, or I might have even said 45, but we're going to try to stick to 30 minutes here. So please reach out if you have questions. If I can support you or help you, I would love to. Don't allow your thoughts to hold you back from the life that you know you want to live, you deserve to live. And also don't let your fear or your lack of belief in yourself hold you back. Because if you think that, I've had people say to me, well, I didn't reach out to you because I just didn't even think that it would work. Like, nothing works for me, so I didn't want to waste your time. Do not go there. Just don't, because there's a reason you're here right now watching this. And so that is your calling right there. That's your assignment. Is if this is resonating with you and you feel like there's not hope for the way that you're thinking, please reach out to me. That is not true. That in itself is a negative thought. That's not true. So the final encouragement I just want to give you guys is you are not stuck. Your brain is trained to think in a certain way to protect you. But starting today, you have the power to change it, and it is your choice. It is up to you. So I really want to encourage you to step into the mindset that God has designed for you, which is one of power, love, peace, and a sound mind, right? 2 Timothy 1:7. That's exactly what God calls us to. And so, again, if anyone wants to share their biggest mindset shift from today in the chat, or if you're watching on YouTube, please share it there in the comments. Or if you are on Team Replay, then respond back to this email with what your biggest mindset shift is from today, or just your biggest takeaway. Like, what did I share with you in this last 30 minutes that was helpful? And if you guys would find it helpful for me to maybe share some journaling prompts to help with mindset shifting, or if you want to have a deeper mindset transformation and you want to work one-to-one with me on that, I would love the opportunity to do that with you. I will drop the link. I'll put it in the replay email. I'm going to drop the link right now in the chat for those of you who are here with me live. And then for those of you who are on YouTube, you'll see it in the call notes. But book a free call with me, and let's just talk about what it is, what are your goals, and what is it that you want to accomplish, and possibly how we could work together to make that happen. So I hope this was helpful. I can't thank you enough for carving out this time to say yes to you, and just continue to grow and be better. Your thoughts are not the boss of you. You are the boss of your brain. And so it is your time right now to master your mindset, like we've been talking about, and step into the life that God has for you. And um, I would be honored to help you do that. So thank you again for spending time with me today. Happy Tuesday. And I will see you all either in email or YouTube or, yeah, or hopefully on a call. I'll see you later. Have a good day.